Hi, and welcome to this video where I'm going to help you to understand the principles behind the energy of creation in business, how you can work with that to elevate your creative expression and genius, and also how to turn that creative desire into realized expression, which is the key aspect of working energetically in your business. So you're bringing energy into life. So we're going to start, where we're going to start is perhaps not where you might think we're going to start. We're going to start with the concept of desire, because desire is the engine of creation. Desire, this is desire that comes from the core of your being. This is the desire where from this place where your soul anchors into your body. And that desire that comes from there, that is a soul desire, is the power to create. It is the signal to the universe. It's the catalyst, the impetus to gather the energy together. So desire is not the same as a want or a need. Now, often we are functioning in the space of need because we need to attract more clients, we need to generate more revenue, we need to be seen, or what, that there's a lot of needs. And then we have, beyond that, we have a lot of wants. We want things to be easier, we want to be connected to people. But often those wants that we have are couched in an extension of a need. So if we need more clients, we want it to be easy. But that is not the same as desire. Desire is a much more profound energy in terms of its origin. And often, our wants are just so riddled with implanted thoughts and beliefs that it's kind of quite hard to extract yourself from that. And what I see in a lot of the talk about the law of attraction, for example, is really about couching a want as something that you want to manifest, because you are you're taking something that is actually based in subconscious beliefs that may not even be yours. So you may want to generate X amount of income because that would be nice. I mean, I'm not going to argue that it would be nice, but it's not actually originating from the place that is going to drive that creation through the whole process. It's what I'm going to be talking about here in this video is how you work consciously with the entire process. It's not just a question of sending out a request to the universe and hoping that it all comes together. This is about you being engaged consciously in the entire process of creation. And I think the law of attraction side of things, and a lot of talk about manifestation is really only about you trying to get into the zone so that you're connecting into that flow, but you're not aware of the whole flow. And that's what we want to be working on, is that we are going to be conscious of the whole flow. And it starts with desire. Desire is the principal driving force of all creation. So, if something isn't originating from your soul, it's very hard to get into that space of desire and truly embody it. The desire that we're talking about is something that you as a unique being needs to be doing or feeling or experiencing or sharing with other people. So we're talking across the board at this point. We're not just necessarily talking about what happens in business. And the desire that comes from your core is what puts the wheels in motion. The energy is gathered. Desire is always about creating, not having. It's about contribution. It's about what we are bringing to the world. It's a very creative energy. Having is often about drawing in, but desire is about moving out into the world. So it's about connecting to others, contributing, and through the expression of the desire, creating some sort of shift, because the energy is introduced into the mix. So getting in touch with this desire is where the whole creative process starts. It's surprisingly difficult to do because we've got so much noise going on around us. But it puts us in that place where we can create. And often you might be feeling that you can't create anything, that it's like really hard work, it's difficult, it's an uphill struggle to get anything that you want to create to come into form. And indeed it is, because wanting to create something is not operating from the zone of desire. And we tend to get very into our heads in business. So that means that we can't access that concept of desire in our business, so that creating becomes this really heavy, hard work, which isn't healthy, and it's not comfortable, and it can just lead you to constantly having to go more and more into that energy of pushing and hard work, and hustle and all of those things in order to get anywhere, which isn't constructive. But you also know, even though that's your experience of business, you also actually know that, because you've got experience of it, that it can be incredibly easy. You can just have that, that instantaneous moment where you connect to something that you want, that you desire to create. And then the next thing you know, it's there. And it can be absolutely effortless. And that's because you've tapped into this concept of desire. You've tapped into the energy of desire, and it's been almost instantaneous. And that's the two sides of the coin. And we operate mostly in business in the really heavy, hard work side of things, but we can function within this, this much easier state of flow. But it requires quite a big shift in the way that we think, the way that we approach things, in order to be able to make that. And it's not easy, and being constant in it is even harder. So, you know, that's why it's so important to understand this, what you desire. Now, when fear is at play, which it is a huge amount of time in business, so I need more money, I need more clients, I need more momentum in my business. You know that you might be okay now, but you're worried about the future, or you might be not okay now, and you just can't even begin to see the future. Well, when you're in that state, which is, you know, is a common state of play for us all, then it's very, very hard to connect to desire as a concept. And you will find it really hard to get into a space where you can create anything. And in these cases, you need to actually be working on your nervous system to cultivate some capacity to feel desire, which means, you know, developing a practice where you can drop into the energy of desire, even if it's only for a very short period of time, so that part of your daily practice is dropping into that energy, so that you're really sensing it and really feeling it. Even if you then come out of it and everything goes, it doesn't matter, you're cultivating capacity. Now, coming back to the law of attraction, one of the things that people talk about a lot is emotions, getting into the motion, really feeling how you're going to feel when you have whatever you want to create. And it's kind of a funny thing, because I've always found that slightly uncomfortable, because I'm just like, well, how do you know what you're going to feel when you've never had something before? It's kind of like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Emotions are definitely one pathway into desire, but they may not necessarily be a true one, because a lot of that desire that really effectively moves you into the creation flow, it's not got a heavy emotional charge to it. It is just there. And so just trying to get into this sort of like joyful emotion is not necessarily a true state of play. And to be honest, there are no hacks with this. You can't hack your way into to this process. You're either in it or you're not. It's just a question of recognizing when you're in it and understanding how to get yourself into it, which is what I want to share with you. So taking the time to make the space to connect into that seat of your desire, that soul desire, is the essential first step. And it doesn't have to be for a long time. It's a question of building up the capacity to be with that desire and get comfortable with it. Because actually, when we're talking about that real soul desire, the soul desire is big energy. You know, it is really quite overwhelming and intimidating. It comes from the soul. It isn't unfiltered through human experience. It's just this huge energy. And that can be quite hard to hold in your system. And you need to build up your capacity to work with it. And you've also got to deal with the side effects of that in terms of, am I worth that? You know, can I give myself permission to have that level of desire? Because it challenges us to really dream big. And as I said, desire is coming from the soul, which is, and it is initiated by the soul. But to express it, if we are all going around expressing soul energy, I tell you that the collective frequencies would be off the charts. Our capacity, our mode of expression is through the heart. And that is the real important thing, because this intensity of soul energy is quite hard to hold, but it's also quite hard to receive. You know, if somebody comes in and they are just like completely on fire with this energy that they're bringing, it's enough to make you just step right back. But when it comes through the heart, that's a whole different kettle of fish, and it feels very different because heart energy is so much softer. This video is really about how we work with the two together. Hence it's called Heart and Soul. We are working about how we initiate from the soul and express through the heart, so that we can create something that is bringing positive energy to everyone. Sorry about that. So I've now refocused my camera, which seems to like to drop out of focus at the drop of a hat. And we'll move on. So I'm going to show you a picture in a minute that is hopefully will give you some idea of what I see and how I visualize what is going on when I'm talking about working these two energies together. But the universal collective consciousness flows through you, and it's there to enrich the human experience. So it comes into your being through your core. And it's moving this energy, by consciously moving this energy into your heart, you're allowing it to come in and connect to the human experience. Now, there are two planes of creation, the way I see it. There is the vertical and there is the horizontal. Now, the horizontal is the one that we're most accustomed to, and this relates to our human experience, a very human level experience. But the vertical plane is about our connection through into this universal consciousness and the bigger parts of ourselves that are, exist on multiple dimensions. So the purpose of the human experience, in my take of this, is that it is there to enrich the collective consciousness. And it is the two things that there's this. Within us, there is this pivot point between this horizontal plane of the human experience and the vertical plane of the divine, if you want to call it the divine experience. And through us, the collective consciousness is enriched by the human experience, and the human experience is enriched by our connection into the divine. So it's a two-way street. And we need both energies to be functioning in order to be in this creative plane. And I think that's kind of like, this sort of like escapism or bypassing whatever it is, just want to ascend and be done with the human experience. That's not the point. The point is that we are supposed to be really bringing into play both aspects in order to create something that contributes to the evolution of the collective universal consciousness through the evolution of the human consciousness and the experience that we're having. So business needs to be part of that process. It needs to be heart and soul. to be plugged into the creation energies. And that's the difference between a business that is created logically and one that is created from a space of conscious contribution, which most entrepreneurs that I know are trying to find a way of engaging that bigger aspect of their psyche, their being in their business. They're wanting to contribute at a level they may not necessarily give themselves permission to acknowledge yet, but it is about changing the trajectory of life on earth by doing something that comes from a place that is both within and without ourselves. So heart and soul is really important for our businesses. They are not typically given any role in business. They're certainly not given a starring role, which is where they need to be. Money, growth, and sort of like this, the growth of the audience and things like that. These are the main sort of quantifiers of success. But in a conscious model, then those are, you can see that those are intellectual markers of success, but they're not there when you're in heart and soul mode. So desire is the starting point. So the question where we have to start to get into this ability to create in this state of flow and ease is, what does your business desire? And in order to answer that, you have to answer the first question, which is, what do I desire? Much easier said than done. But until you answer those questions, you won't be in the creation flow. You're going to be, you might be in creation mode, but it's going to be hard work. So I'm going to just share my screen for a minute so I can explain some of this to you visually. So just give me 1 second. And this is the screen I want to show to you. So as I said, there are two planes of creation. There is the horizontal and there is the vertical. So the vertical plane anchors you into the universal consciousness, and the horizontal plane anchors you into the human collective consciousness and experience. So desire operates on the vertical plane, but it is expressed on the horizontal plane. And this is where the heart and soul energies come in. So the transition between the two planes happens in your core. So your core is somewhere between your solar plexus and your sacral. Sort of, I always feel it kind of behind my belly button. And if I really feel into it, it can feel like it's in my body and it's also not in my body. But that's where I feel it emerging from. So that is the transition point between the two, but it's kind of like there's a flow that happens between the two. But your core is the point where you are able to access both vertical and horizontal simultaneously. So desire is a frequency that is sent out on the vertical plane. And so it's moving from this point here. So I haven't got the thingy around my cursor. This point in the very middle on the line of the horizontal, it's moving up really from your core, soul initiation, to being framed by your heart. These are all of your other energy points within the body. It's moving up here, and it is then moving out here, around, and back through. And that is the toroidal flow of creation. So desire is sent up on the vertical plane, and it moves across the horizontal plane and then comes into form through here. Now, it's an interesting experience that when I work with clients on doing the DNA of their business, many of them can see this bit. They can see the energy moving here. it becomes invisible here. So I want to show you, I want you to be aware of it so that you can, if you can't see it, then you can at least feel it. So essentially what is happening here is that your desire is being broadcast up into the universe. It is then created in an energetic form in the field of possibility. You are pulling energy for this desire because it's soul initiated. It is the energy that is being pulled in is clean and clear. It's coming from the field of possibility, from the absolute. This energy has been drawn into play without any implanting. It's got no it's got nothing that is going to distort how that desire gets put into play. One sec. And so this part of the process, this part of creating the energetic, of pulling together the frequency, we're going to call it the frequency, is overseen by the Elohim. It's then moved into the horizontal plane. Before, actually, I'll say something else before this. While it's here, you send this up here and into the to the universe, and it's there. It's effectively being created. But what happens if you don't consciously pull the whole process through is that it can just float around there forever. It's there. And it's, what people often say, it's right there. All you need to do is believe it. But it is right there. But if you don't follow the whole process through, then that's where it will stay. It'll float around until it's called into form, or through intention, which is where it moves down and it crosses on the horizontal plane. It moves through the realm of intention. Now, desire is basically, it is something that speaks to you deeply, that you want to see created, but you can have a desire and not do anything about it. So there has to be a pivot point of intention where you intend to act upon it. You intend to follow through. You intend to listen and do what needs to be done in order to make this possible. And if you don't pull the energy through that plane, it's just not going to happen. So this is all dependent upon your willingness to action upon your desire. Now you may think, well, of course I want to do that, but subconscious interference and fears are what can stop it crossing that threshold. So as it comes down to this almost like this pivot point of intention, an energetic code is created. You can consider it to be the blueprint. It is a direct translation of the desire into a blueprint for its form. And every shift that you make in that desire is going to change that blueprint, which is why when you're working energetically in your business, you need to be recalibrating constantly, because you are constantly shifting things. It's a big part of the energetic process, and really, really important. So the code, the blueprint, is created by the elements, earth, air, fire, and water, which are our bridge between this etheric world and this physical world. They are the energies of intended creation and the raw materials for the actual creation. So they create both, and that's why they are our bridge. And everything that you create is a completely unique blend of elemental energies. Every single thing, which is why it needs to have this code. Now, you don't have to necessarily see the code, but knowing that that's what's going on at an energetic level may well help you. So once the code is created, it's then ready to come into form. And that is going to happen through action. So that's speaking, doing, changing habits, changing behaviors, you know, taking action upon this. Very, very important. You are moving the energy. It's not going to move itself. You need to facilitate the movement. This, you are creating this toroidal flow, and you can block it at any point. So you need to take action. That's talking about things even when you aren't ready, doing things when you aren't ready, because you're just getting the movement, the energy moving. Now, often we kind of feel like that step from intention into motion can be this sort of like daunting, huge, great big leap. But in practice, it is, it can be this tiny little microscopic movement that you make that just gets the energy flowing. So sometimes that leap is so tiny in practice, you won't even realize you've made it. So this part of this process of taking the blueprint and making it come into form is overseen by the Devic realm and the nature energies, which is another reason why it is so important to bring nature into your business, because the energetic guardians of everything that you see out there in the world are the energetic guardians of your, you know, also what you create in your own life, but also what you create in your business. The process of embodiment is taking something that is pure frequency, the desire, pure frequency, and turning it into form. So we are working with nature energies, with the energetic guardians of nature to create a business. So it kind of helps if it's following the it's in harmony with nature. That's, you know, kind of really important in terms of being able to bring that into form. And if you will find that if you're following a soul desire, then it will be in harmony. Whereas if you're following an intellectual, mental desire, it won't. So when things flow in this way, you are part of nature, you are part of the natural forces. And as I say, everything, your desire is in harmony with the energy of creation. And it's pulling clean energy into the mix, and bringing evolution and bringing balance and harmony. And it brings back, and it also brings it back into you and back into the vertical plane as you are extending this energy out through the horizontal, because you know, you've moved it through the horizontal plane and brought it into form through you. It's coming back in and enriching the core. This is where the human experience enriches core, universal consciousness. It is growing, and it is this. As you can see, there are some infinity symbols there, because it becomes, you know, we function on the purely on the human horizontal plane. We function in a closed system, closed energetic system, where we have the laws of thermodynamics, and we have entropy, and we have dissipation of energy, and we have energy accumulating in one place and not flowing in another place. And you get this, you know, the distribution of wealth for the sake of argument at a global level is an example of how that's functioning at the horizontal level. But if you're plugged into the vertical level here, then you are within an infinite supply, and every single thing that you do that is initiated from the soul and expressed through the heart is enriching you and bringing more energy to you and through you and building your capacity. So that dropping out of that fear state where you can't even connect to it is dropping into that fear state where you can't even connect to that desire becomes less and less likely, because you're moving more and more energy and your capacity for it is greater. So it is entirely possible to create a business purely on the horizontal plane, but it is not going to be easy. It is not going to be simple. It's going to require a lot of push, a lot of pull, to create anything in that way. It's going to be exhausting, frankly, and you're at the mercy of the law of probabilities. When we create in this form energetically, then we are working with the law of possibilities, which are infinite. Now, it's a process of cooperation, not control. Now, operating on the purely on the horizontal plane is about controlling situations. It's controlling outcomes. It's controlling how people think and feel and behave. But operating on the vertical plane is about working with possibilities and allowing them to flow into being, which means that we need to be collaborating and cooperating and co-creating rather than controlling. So understanding the frequency and the code and how that wants to come into play means that we can cooperate with that energy and become part of that creation flow, and it's just an easier way to create in your life and in your business. So the key is understanding what it looks like as that desire turns from the space of being a frequency as it moves into form. So that's the key thing. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen now, and we can then look at how do you put this into practice. Well, the first thing is that you really need to know your desire. As I said, it's not as easy as you think, because it's hard to hear, it's hard to trust, it's hard to drop into that space. Sometimes it can be extremely challenging to drop in and hear it with a sense of knowing, and know that it's coming from your soul. It's not coming from what other people think you ought to have, or whatever, and just getting quiet enough to just have that immense sense of knowing that comes with that desire. So understand what it is, what its focus is, and then understand how it wants to be expressed. This is a process of intuitive listening and understanding. So what is the experience of expressing it that you need to have, and what is the experience of receiving it that other people need to have? So there's a feedback loop that happens between them, as you know, as you express a soul desire and it's received by other people. As I said, it's all about contribution. Somehow or other it is contributing and connecting with people. Then there is a receiving wave of energy that you get, that is also informing that and evolving it. So you need to understand what it is and how it wants to be expressed, and get clear on your intention to express this for a purpose. So to be true to the energy of the intention, the desire, in everything that you do. But you need to be clear on your intention to express it practically, and be open to the creative solution that's going to come to you when you do this, because it will be a creative solution. It will be a lot simpler than you think it should be. If you're in your head, you'll have bells and whistles, it'll be complicated and it'll be challenging. This process is going to be so simple. You'll like do the double take and you wonder, it can't be that easy, it can't be that simple. Yeah, it always is. Minimalist. An effective energetic business is incredibly minimalist. It's like pared back to the simplest possible way that you can be in your business, the simplest possible way of structuring your business, the simplest possible way of talking about your business, the simplest possible way of supporting and servicing your clients. But it may well take you off the beaten path. I'm sure it will take you off the beaten path. So you won't necessarily be going, oh, right, okay, using all the tools that you've had. Most of what's happening now is we're being asked to develop new tools, new drivers for our business. So desires, intuition, these things are coming into play more. We need new tools to work with them because the tools that we have are not fit for purpose within this new paradigm. So we need to be developing new tools. Now, the difference is going to be that the new tools that we develop are not going to be consistent to everybody. We've had the ability to, you know, in the old way of doing things, then having standard tools worked because everybody was operating to the same model. We're all going to be working to different models. We're all unique and we're all individuals, so it doesn't work like that anymore. So be prepared to venture out on your own into the unknown on your own path. Also then embody the desire by expressing the energy. Embody the desire by expressing the energy. Do something with it. Don't sit on it. Don't be a perfectionist. Allow the energy to flow. It can, as I said, it can be a small thing, but moving the energy is what's going to happen. So it's the intent that matters rather than the perfection of the form, okay? So if you're getting hung up on your message for the sake of argument, it's the intent and energy you put behind it that is more effective than what, that, you know, whether or not you've polished it to you know, to the nth degree. I think it's important to say, you know, that creation is all forms of expression. So that's speech, movement, words, visuals, shapes, sounds. These are all giving energy form. They're all moving the energy. They are all expressing the energy. So any one of those things is doing it. So you know, is getting the energy moving. So, you know, yeah, dancing, if that is what works for you, singing, if that's what works for you, it's all going to be part and parcel of it. So if you are feeling, for example, you need to share something and your throat is tightening, then yes, sing, dance, do anything that's moving the energy up through your system. So, and then the other side of that is to be aware of when you are getting into your head. We all do it. We are all in our heads. Now and again, because we live in a world where we have to be up in our heads, and that often, if we're not up in our heads, then we're not on the same wavelength as the people around us. So, you know, we get into our heads. The first thing is to remember and to recognize when you are in your head and how to get yourself back out of it. So to drop yourself back into heart and soul energy in order to move from that place. And use your intuition to interpret and understand what you're feeling. And cultivate time to sit with desire and to expand your nervous system capacity to hold it, and allow your intuitive decisions to be the ones that you focus on, even when you feel scared to. So that's some tips for beginning to work with that. So what we've covered really is the need for you to allow yourself to dream big, to have that big soul desire, and allow the desire to expand your energetic capacity to flow. Build your capacity to flow with the creation energy by spending time in that desire. Give yourself permission to create what you desire. That's a big piece of it, because otherwise the subconscious gets in the way. Rewire your ability, your belief in your ability and your worthiness to create it. Express the energy, allow creative impetus to bring the energy into form. Nourish your heart and your soul by allowing your desire to be formed, following the frequency and intention into the form. So if you have any questions on this, then, you know, I'm here. Please do ask away. And if you want any support to move into a more energetic way of working in your business, you know that that's your pathway forward, that is going to help you come into attunement with your where you're at and where you're going to, then get in touch with me about one-to-one mentoring to work through all of the aspects of this. Or if you want to focus on a specific aspect of it, then I've also got flexible mentoring available as well. So please do get in touch if either of those are things that you need or would like to explore, whether or not they would work for you. As I say, any questions? I'm always here, and thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Bye.